A beat-up old pickup truck rumbles down a quiet road, dust kicking up behind it. Inside, a man in his late 20s, with the sharp, focused eyes of a soldier, grips the steering wheel. He's a Marine staff sergeant, but right now, he just looks like any other guy trying to get home. Suddenly, flashing blue and red lights fill his rearview mirror. A police car. With a sigh, he pulls over to the shoulder. Two officers, a seasoned veteran named Officer Davis and his younger, more eager partner, Officer Ramirez, approach the truck. Davis taps on the driver's side window. The sergeant rolls it down. License and registration. Please, Davis says, his voice firm but routine. The sergeant hands them over. Davis glances at the military ID. Staff sergeant, huh? What are you doing out here? Sergeant just shrugs. Just heading home, Officer Ramirez. Meanwhile, is circling the truck, his flashlight beam cutting through the evening gloom. He peers into the truck bed, covered by a worn-out tarp. What's under the tarp, Sergeant? Calls out, his tone sharp with suspicion. The sergeant hesitates for a second. Just some old equipment, officer. Nothing to worry about. This vague answer only fuels Ramirez's suspicion. I'd like to take a look, if you don't mind, he insists. Officer Davis, sensing the tension, steps in. My partner just wants to be thorough, Sergeant. If you've got nothing to hide, this will all be over in a minute. The sergeant's jaw tightens. He knows his rights, but he also knows arguing on the side of a dark road is a bad idea. All right, he says, his voice tight. But I'm telling you, it's nothing. Ramirez pulls back the tarp, revealing several large, locked metal cases. They look military-grade. Open them, Ramirez demands. The sergeant shakes his head. I can't do that, officer. It's classified equipment. Ramirez scoffs. Classified? Sure it is. Open the cases, or we'll open them for you. And we'll add obstruction to the charges. The situation is getting heated. Officer Davis puts a hand on his partner's shoulder. Easy, Ramirez. Let's think this through. But Ramirez is locked in, convinced he's on to something big. He pulls out his handcuffs. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step out of the vehicle. The sergeant slowly gets out of the truck, his hands raised slightly. He's calm, but there's a storm brewing in his eyes. He's been in far more dangerous situations than this, but the injustice of it all grates on him. As Ramirez is about to cuff him, Officer Davis's radio crackles to life. A voice from dispatch, urgent and sharp. Davis, what's your location? Who did you pull over? Davis answers, relaying the sergeant's name and details. A brief pause, and then the dispatcher's voice comes back, completely different. It's strained, almost panicked. Davis, stand down. I repeat. All units stand down. Do not touch that man. Do not search his vehicle. Let him go. Now, Ramirez freezes, handcuffs dangling from his hand. What? Dispatch. On what authority? He sputters into his own radio. The reply is immediate and cuts through the air like a razor. On the authority of the Pentagon, officer, this is a direct order, let him go and clear the scene. End of discussion. A dead silence hangs over the roadside. The two officers stare at the sergeant, who simply lowers his hands and gives them a small knowing nod. The authority in his posture has returned tenfold. He's no longer just a guy in a pickup. He's someone with connections that reach the very top. Ramirez looks bewildered, his whole worldview shaken. Davis, the veteran, understands a little better. He's seen enough to know when you've stepped into something far above your pay grade. He just nods back at the sergeant. You heard him, Ramirez. Let's go. They back away slowly, get into their patrol car, and pull away without another word, leaving the sergeant standing by his truck. He takes a deep breath, climbs back into the driver's seat, and pulls the tarp back over the mysterious cases. As he starts the engine and pulls back onto the road, you're left wondering, who exactly is this staff sergeant? What in the world was he carrying that could command the attention of the Pentagon itself? Some questions, it seems, are not meant to be answered. Thanks for watching. Imagine this. You've served your country, worn the uniform with pride, and faced dangers most of us can only dream of. You're a United States Marine. Then, one day, you find yourself on the wrong side of the law. Not because you broke it, but because the law broke its own rules. This is the incredible story of one Marine who stood his ground against an unlawful detention. A confrontation that escalated until the very highest levels of law enforcement had to step in. Our story begins on a quiet afternoon. A Marine, let's call him Sergeant Cole, was driving home. He'd recently returned from a tough deployment and was looking forward to some peace. Suddenly, flashing lights filled his rearview mirror. He was being pulled over. Cole, trained to be respectful and composed, did everything by the book. He pulled over safely, turned off his engine, and kept his hands visible on the steering wheel. Two local police officers approached his car. Their demeanor was immediately aggressive. They asked for his license and registration, which he provided calmly. But then, things took a strange turn. Without any probable cause, without any reason given, they ordered him out of his car. Sergeant Cole, knowing his rights, politely asked, "Officer, am I being detained?" "What is the reason for this?" The question seemed to enrage them. Instead of an answer, he was met with threats. "Get out of the car now or we'll pull you out." Cole remained calm but firm. He explained that under the law, they needed a reason, a probable cause, to escalate a simple traffic stop into a full-blown search and detention. It wasn't being difficult. It was upholding the very Constitution he swore to defend. This standoff, this clash of wills on the side of a dusty road, was just the beginning. The officers, frustrated by his refusal to comply with an unlawful order, decided to arrest him for obstruction. They handcuffed him, a man who had worn the nation's uniform, and treated him like a common criminal. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through the local veteran community. His fellow Marines were outraged. How could a decorated serviceman be treated this way? They started making calls, sending emails, and posting on social media. The story wasn't just about one man anymore. It was about respect, justice, and the principle that no one is above the law, not even law enforcement. The pressure began to build on the local police department. But the real game changer came from an unexpected direction. The incident had caught the attention of federal authorities. Why? Because a serviceman being unlawfully detained isn't just a local issue. It touches upon federal laws and civil rights protections. Suddenly, this wasn't just a small-town police matter anymore. federalagents.com and professional arrived at the local police station. They weren't there to make a scene. They were there to ask questions and review the facts. They examined the body cam footage from the traffic stop. It was crystal clear. Sergeant Cole had been polite and cooperative. He had simply asked for the legal justification for the officers' demands. The footage showed the officers had no probable cause. They had no warrant. Their actions were a textbook example of an unlawful detention and a violation of Cole's Fourth Amendment rights, which protect against unreasonable searches and seizures. Faced with the undeniable video evidence and the quiet, firm pressure from federal investigators, the local police department had no choice. The charges against Sergeant Cole were dropped immediately. He was released, and an internal affairs investigation was launched into the conduct of the two officers. Justice, it seemed, had finally arrived, not with a bang, but with the quiet, methodical application of the law. The officers involved were suspended pending the investigation, and ultimately faced disciplinary action for their misconduct. This story is a powerful reminder of several important things. First, know your rights. Sergeant Cole's knowledge and composure were his greatest weapons. He didn't escalate the situation, but he didn't back down from his constitutional protections either. Second, it shows the power of community. The support from his fellow veterans was crucial in bringing attention to his case. And finally, it highlights the importance of accountability. When local authorities overstep, there are higher systems of justice in place to correct those wrongs. It proves that the uniform a person wears, whether it's for the military or for law enforcement, comes with a responsibility to uphold the law, not to place oneself above it. The system isn't always perfect, but as this Marine's story shows, the fight for justice is always worth it. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that matters. See you next time.